Hi everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Coach Thorski here, and in today's video we will be talking about how to build a bulletproof mindset. Specifically, I would like to give you 5 strategies I have been using to battle adversity. These are some strategies I've been using for a while, but they came in handy specifically recently, trying to recover from tricep surgery that happened just over 80 days ago. 90 days ago, I suffered a full tricep rupture when trying to bench press 200 kilograms. 10 days later, I had a surgery. Now it's been 80 days. I've got full range of motion back. I'm training pretty heavy, beating all the forecasts of doctors, surgeons, you name it. And a big part of this success, most definitely, has been played by my mindset. So in today's video, I would like to share with you some of the strategies I've been employing, and hopefully you can take advantage of them as well. So, strategy number 1. Take ownership of the situation. Whatever hard stuff you're going through in your life, whatever accident, injury, or whatever it is that happened to you, it may seem like it happened in random. Very often you've done everything right. There's no reason to blame yourself for anything. And it seems like blaming yourself is probably the last thing that you should be doing. I'm not telling you to blame yourself, I'm telling you to take ownership of the situation and the problem. Thinking that things can just happen at random and you have no control over it isn't very empowering. After I suffered my injury, I went to see a physiotherapist back in Poland, and he basically told me that, whilst operating weights like this, kind of surpassing the age of 30, things can just happen, and there's nothing you can really do to, overcome it. And being in this mindset isn't the best, because basically what you're telling yourself then is that it doesn't matter what you do, stuff can or will go wrong. It completely removes the element of power from you. You're just at the mercy of accidents. And is this really the space you want to live in? I don't. So what I'm telling you is take ownership of the situation. Try to look for a fault in yourself, not in the environment. So, in case of my injury, I think that the injury happened because someone has passed over the bar to me in a way that perhaps shouldn't be passed over. And the way I'm trying to approach it is, okay, well, what can I do about it in future? Well, I can take accountability for the fact that I haven't prepared myself enough. I haven't actually lined up someone who would be able to pass over the bar to me in a way I'm used to. This itself, okay, to begin with, is a bit painful because effectively you are blaming yourself to some extent for what happened. But in the long run, it's actually empowering because it gives you tools to prevent this in future. And there's a great book about this attitude by Jocko Willink called Extreme Ownership. I highly recommend you read that. Now, point number 2. Remind yourself that whatever situation you are in isn't permanent. There was a study done a while back where scientists have taken a large population group and they've been following this population through decades. Now, when you take a large population group, you expect certain things to go right and go wrong, I suppose. So the scientists have isolated from this group people who have won the lottery and people who have suffered some life-changing consequences, car crashes, became paralyzed from the waist down, whatever. At the beginning of the experiment, each participant was grading his or her happiness level, and then following the population decades over decades after those events have happened, winning lottery and suffering the life-changing consequences, the happiness was marked over the course of time as well. And what the scientists have found is that people who have won the lottery, their happiness went up after winning the lottery, but then came down after 6 months to the baseline. So effectively, if you were happy before winning the lottery, you were as happy 6 months after. If you were miserable and sad before winning the lottery, you were as sad and miserable 6 months after. Now, what happened with people who suffered some sort of accident? Very similar situation. So obviously, initial consequence, very sad, happiness dips down, and then 6 months afterwards comes back to the baseline. So this tells us something important. home take is that happiness is something intrinsic. It's not really affected in the long run by external factors. So whatever it is that you are suffering through now, bear in mind it isn't a permanent state. Even if it is permanent physically, your mind will recover. And I think that having this perspective is huge. It helped me a lot. Strategy number 3. Don't focus on yourself. There's a quote by Seneca that goes something like, "We suffer most in imagination." The worst thing you can do when you're going through anything challenging in your life is just getting too much into your head. You might have noticed that when things are tough, it's much easier to deal with them when you keep busy. And keeping busy is effectively allowing you not to focus on yourself. Now, I'm not saying keep distracting yourself and don't process your emotions. You still want to do that. All I'm saying is that depression could be argued as quite an egocentric state of being. You're focusing very much on what's missing in your life, on what's negative in your life. And when you expand beyond that, when you focus on other people, when you focus on being helpful, being productive, helping other people, being a beast of burden, then all those negative feelings disappear. You just don't have capacity for them. So take advantage of this. Don't focus on yourself. And objectively, there's billions of people around this world, and whatever it is that you're going through, someone else has gone through before you or is going through it right now. So, in context of injury, for me, for example, yes, I tore my tricep. I'm not the first and last person to do it. There were people with knee replacement surgeries, breaking world records, and in a grand scheme of things, my injury pales in comparison. So have this perspective, whatever it is that you're going through. A natural reaction after suffering something terrible like an injury is to fall into this victim's mentality and expect some sort of special treatment. For me, for example, I noticed that certain daily activities became difficult. After surgery, I couldn't even feed myself. I couldn't drive a car for a few weeks. And I was expecting special treatment. I was expecting perhaps to get a special parking spot, and I was prepared to make a big case to get that. And then I realized, there's a hidden cost to getting all these privileges, and the cost is that you need to start feeling sorry for yourself. Instead of focusing on getting better and operating normally as you've done before, you're focusing on how bad you've got it. You're focusing on proving how bad you've got it, and that's a hidden cost that many people don't see. So don't do that. Whatever it is that you're going through, whatever challenges you've got, just try to operate as you've done before, business as usual. Yes, make necessary adjustments, process your emotions, do what you need to do, but don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't expect pity, don't expect special treatment. Now, strategy number 4, redefine your idea of success. Previously, my idea of success was benching 210 kilograms, and I wanted to go higher. And obviously then, in space of a second, I went from benching 210 to not being able to extend my arm. If I was to define success as benching 220 kilograms now, I'm a failure. And again, it's not a very useful headspace to be in. So, if this mindset doesn't serve you well, reject it. Focus on task-based goals. So even if you cannot see a way out from the situation, but there is a plan. You've got your physio plan, you're supposed to be exercising 3 times a day, you're supposed to be keeping on top of your nutrition, whatever, stick to that. Yeah? You've got your schedule, train 3 times a day, eat 6 times a day, you get all of that work done, that's your win. Task-based goals. And then by the time you realize, all those tasks, all those little wins compound into something you actually want. And the last strategy number 5, probably the most controversial, I hate mixtape. So that's something I borrowed from David Goggins. In one of the interviews, he talked about collating all the negative feedback he was getting on social media and then creating a mixtape that would motivate him during the days when he couldn't be bothered with getting it. Now, after my surgery, I had a lot of positive, supportive people around me, but I also had a lot of people who more or less cautiously have been saying a lot of shit. So I had people telling me, getting into powerlifting was stupid, what was I expecting operating with weights like this, that was only a matter of time, that my recovery protocol is absolutely stupid, I should be listening to a doctor. Someone was mocking my tricep extensions when I was starting off 1 kilogram, saying, well, how about you put that on Instagram now? And all of this stuff was pretty negative, but I loved it. I wrote every single comment down in my notepad. I still got it, and every day I felt like not doing the stuff I need to do. I would read it and I would think to myself, I will prove you wrong. So if you watch this, you know who you are. That's all I got prepared for you today, guys. I hope you found this episode useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.